The Danish tax system might seem a bit complicated, and the problem is not with you. The system works by a somewhat different logic than in other countries, and this week we'll continue our presentation of it, so stick with us.
Welcome to the Business Lessons in Denmark podcast. Our podcast gives the answers to your business-related questions that have not been answered yet, or things that haven't even crossed your mind. My name is Adina Bohos, and I am here with my colleague Katalin Balog. We are owners of Kullakon CPS, a Danish accounting office. Hi, Kati. Denmark's main tax source is the income tax, and this type of tax applies to almost everyone. We have already talked about it in our last podcast, but we didn't dive into the details of how much is it. So let's fill in these gaps and look at the specifics.
Yeah, it's probably best to take an example. Let's say you have a sole proprietorship. Last time we took the example of a cleaning business. Let's just stick with that. It's an activity that many people pursue as sole proprietors.
Yes, and as I remember, we estimated 35,000 crowns profit for December. It also turned out that I, as a business owner, had to pay tax as an individual on this profit. But how much will that tax be then?
Well, as tax is calculated on an annual basis, it would be best for us to think in terms of annual income. Let's assume that you earned this much not only in the month of December, but every month in general. That is, after we deduct your expenses from your income, there are 35,000 crowns remaining for you every month. If we multiply this by 12 for a whole year, then 12 times 35,000 crowns, you earn 420,000 crowns in 1 year.
Well, it's not that bad income to begin with, so let's count on that. How much will this be taxed?
First of all, you have to pay the labor market contribution on this income. This is called Arbeidsmarkedsbidrag in Danish, abbreviated as AM-bidrag. And the rate is 8%. It doesn't matter if you are employed somewhere or get a salary, or if you are self-employed or a freelancer, this tax must be paid on all income that comes from work. The name is not tax, but contribution, but don't be in any doubt that it is, after all, a tax.
I see. So I have to pay 8% of my income. And there is no minimum or maximum limit here, if I understand correctly.
Yeah, that's correct. No matter how much you earn, you have to pay this labor market contribution. The state covers from this money, among others, retraining expenses for the unemployed, maternity and paternity benefits, and many other costs.
I would like to think that's all, but we are not that lucky, I'm pretty sure.
No, because now the real tax is coming. That is the tax that is also called by this name. If you earn then more than a certain amount annually, you will have to pay a tax called bundskat in Danish, which could perhaps be translated as basic tax or base tax in English. This rate is 12.06% this year in 2024.
And what is the certain amount above which I have to pay this basic tax?
Actually, that changes also every year. In 2023, it was 48,000 crowns, and in 2024, it is 49,700 crowns. So it usually increases a little bit every year. This is a basic tax-free amount for personal taxes. Everybody gets it. In Danish, it's called personfradrag, and this applies for an entire year.
Okay, so if this year in 2024 my yearly income is under 49,700 crowns, then I only have to pay the 8% EMB bitra. If it is higher than this, and it's higher for most people, then I also have to pay Bundskatt, which is a basic tax, and the rate is 12.06%. Are we done?
Not quite.
Oh.
You pay this tax to the state. In other words, this part of the tax covers various expenses of the state. For example, pensions, state investments, maintenance of state institutions like the police, military, the courts, and so on. But apart from that, you also have to pay tax to the municipality, which is called kommuneskatt in Danish, so municipal tax in English.
It sounds good that I maintain such a large state apparatus. A lot of people get salaries from me. And how much is the municipal tax?
The amount of this is determined by the municipality. So it depends where you live, basically. Last year, the municipal tax was 25.02% on average. You can check how much it is where you live on the website of the tax agency, by the way. In Copenhagen, it is relatively low, 23.6%. In Aarhus, it's a little bit higher, 24.52%. But there are municipalities where it is over 26%. For example, on the smaller islands like Ærø, Læsø, and so on.
Does this mean that if I have a higher income than 49,700 crowns in 2024, then I also have to pay a municipal tax?
Yes. If the person's income exceeds this limit, then both the Bundskatt, which is the 12.06%, the basic tax, and the kommuneskatt, which is the municipal tax, and this is around 23 to 27%. So both have to be paid. The municipal tax is for the municipalities to be able to maintain the kindergartens, the primary schools, to have money for the care of the elderly, but also for the integration expenses for foreigners. For example, the Danish language schools are also paid from this, and many other things like the local bus routes and so on.
I understand. Is that all, or is there anything else?
Well, we talked about the basic tax, right? But then there is also an upper tax, which in Danish is called topskatt. So this is for the higher income, and for the income of 422,000 that we took as an example, it is not relevant. You would not have to pay upper tax from this.
Okay, and what is the amount above which you will have to pay this upper tax?
This limit is also changes every year. In 2024, it is 640,108 crowns. So this is the amount above which you will also have to pay this upper tax. This revenue also goes to the state for those taxes that we already mentioned.
Okay, I hope there are no more types of taxes now.
Well,
no.
There is also the kirkeskatt, which is the church tax, but this is only has to be paid by those who are members of the Danish state church, the Folkekirke in Danish. The amount of this also varies from municipality to municipality. On average, it is around 1% or a little less.
Okay. If I want to summarize it, there is the labor market contribution, the basic tax, the municipal tax, the upper tax, and the church tax. If I add these percentages together that we have just listed, then it comes out as a quite high percentage.
Yeah, the percentage seems to be quite high, but there are a couple of things that tip the scales to the opposite direction, actually. First of all, as we mentioned in the previous episode, there is a ceiling above which your tax cannot go. No matter how high your income is, your tax rate will not be higher than 52.07%. So that's the maximum you have to pay. The other thing is the way these percentages are calculated on your income. These percentages are not added up one-to-one because they are not counted on the total income. For example, we talked about this labor market contribution, which is the 8%, but you pay as labor market contribution gets deducted from the base on which the other tax rates are calculated. And there are some other similar rules on the calculation. So all percentages are not calculated like on the full income. And the third and most important thing is that you will also get some tax-based deductions. For example, simply because you have a job, whether you are an employee or an entrepreneur, you will get a tax-based deduction. But there are also other things. For example, if you travel far to work, then there is a tax-based deduction for that. If you save up for your pension, there is a deduction for that too, and so on. There are quite a lot of deductions, and these can significantly lower a person's tax.
Well, that sounds a little bit better.
Yeah. For the sake of our example, I calculated how much tax you would need to pay on this 420,000 crowns profit you earn in your sole proprietorship. I didn't calculate with any extra tax-based deductions, only with those that you would get automatically because you work. And I also took it that you don't pay church tax. So, all in all, the tax you would have to pay on this amount of income is 142,450 Danish crowns.
Then it's approximately a third of the income, right?
Right. Exactly 33%, 33.9%. Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't want to evaluate if it is a lot or it is a little. Let everyone decide this for themselves. But I would like to emphasize that this already includes the Social Security contribution. So you don't have to pay Social Security on top of this. It is also included in this percentage.
Okay, well, this detailed overview was very useful, and it was also nice to get the specific numbers at the end. Last time we also mentioned the real estate tax, dividend tax, capital gains tax. They still can affect the tax payable as an individual, but we don't go into them now. I think we got a good picture about this topic, and I hope that we didn't overwhelm the listeners with these many percentages and numbers.
Yeah, I hope so too. There is also actually one thing that we have to say at the end, and it is that what we have said today in this episode, it is about the current situation. Taxes will change from next year, that is from 2025. They will decrease somewhat for most people, except for those who have really, really high income. For them, it will increase a little bit.
Well, it's a good news for us because we can do another podcast episode on this topic.
Yes.
So in any case, next week we will continue with the subject of the taxes and move on to the slightly more practical things you need to do that your tax issues should be in order.
Yeah. And we will also give some tips.
That's right. Thank you for your attention. See you next week. Today's episode was sponsored by Kulakan CPS. Kulakan CPS can help with starting your company with bookkeeping and tax matters. In addition, we also provide business and financial consulting. If you liked the show, then follow us and like our Facebook page. If you would like to contact us, you can do so via our website, www.accounts.cool. We wish you a successful week.